Howdy Earthlings, it's been a while since I've done a tip video for an original species, so this one is going to be all about lore and writing, and it's something I have a lot of experience in. More experience in than art. So the first thing you might be asking is if you even need lore. And honestly, yes. At least a little bit. I'm sorry. Unless you're making the species just for you as like a private project, a little bit of lore is kind of expected, because people are ideally going to be attracted to the design on its own. Then they'll want to learn more about the species itself. They'll want to know why it looks the way it does, what its world is like, what kind of environment makes a creature look the way this one does. Every part of a creature serves a purpose. Even useless body parts on humans once served a purpose, like the appendix. This is an organ humans typically get removed if they experience a condition called appendicitis, which causes extreme stomach pain. Otherwise, the organ stays in a human their whole life without doing much of anything. In the past, it was likely used to help process the more fibrous plants in the ancient human diet. You've since left that lifestyle behind, and your appendix does nothing now. See, even a dumb, useless organ like the appendix has lore. You don't need to get into that much detail though, you don't need lore for every organ. I'd say you maybe need 5 paragraphs of lore at the most. In reality, most people don't want to read a ton. That's why people have commissioned me in the past to make videos for their species. By having me yap at you, you are more likely to participate in the community because you didn't have to read their 3-page essay on the musculoskeletal system that explains their species' ability to fly. So the ideal amount of lore is about 5 paragraphs. Each paragraph will explain a simple question, and by answering that question, you can answer multiple smaller questions at once. These questions are who, what, where, when, and how. If you paid attention in English or writing classes, you probably heard of this before. This works well for writing a species too. Don't worry, I'll go into full detail. Who are they? Who are they isn't a question about individuals within the species. Rather, this is a question about who they are as a species. What is the anatomy, biology, and other base animal functions? What aspects of their appearance defines them and makes them different from other similar creatures? Like, describe how your species is different from a human. Starting from the head and going down their body, list every single out of the ordinary trait and include a small description of that body part and its purpose. If they have horns, are these used to compete to find mates like in the wild? You should be able to write a single sentence description for each oddity. If your species has sexual dimorphism, where multiple sexes are very different from each other, then you need to include a description on what makes those sexes different. This is probably the most important bit of lore as it defines the existence and day-to-day lives of your creatures. What's here will affect all of the following questions. What do they eat? This question, like all of these questions, are much more than just the surface level. Humans eat a large variety of foods, and that's because of your dominance over your environment. You've mastered agriculture, livestock, and you're on your way to mastering synthetic foods, so you don't even need those other 2 things for very long. Since the modern human exists in a state that is outside of their food chain, their lives are heavily affected by this existence outside of the food chain. No longer a prey animal hiding in caves and sleeping in large groups for protection. That changed when man discovered meat and easy calories, and thus your brain grew to humongous proportions, allowing you to become a predator species, more dangerous than what you used to fear. Then you went beyond even that. Who needs to hunt for food when you can reshape the planet to your whims and breed livestock for your consumption? The human has broken free of the food chain and has established a new one of their own. Your species' culture and way of life is defined by their diet and their position within the food chain. Are they prey, predator, or have they too ascended beyond either of those descriptions? Do they grow food? Do they forage, hunt, or do they make it all in a lab? How did they acquire this food before they could grow it themselves? Where do they live? I don't have a fancy answer for this one, Home Slice, just write about their homeworld. If they're prey, then maybe this is a hostile homeworld where they struggled just to make do. Maybe they hide in the trees, making their own society there, far from the prowling predators below. Maybe they're from a desert world, and so they eat anything that they can find, but avoid high moisture foods because it upsets their tummy. You can use the diet as a hint for crafting their world. This step might be easier for you if you save it for later, but you should do it before the final step. When do they bang? I wanted to stick with the who, what, when, where, and how theme, and this was the best title that I could do for the reproduction section. Your species needs to procreate. That's just a fact. You don't necessarily need them to do the monster mash, but they need a way to make more of them. Otherwise, their species wouldn't ever be able to get to the point that they are now. They could do it like mammals, so they do it like they do on the Discovery Channel. Maybe they lay eggs, or do it like mammals, but carry their young like marsupials. Perhaps they split like amoeba, or maybe they use magic. I've seen multiple species that procreate using magic. The first one is kind of silly, but as you hear it more and more and more, it's like, yeah, that's normal. Like in my species Cugs. They originally didn't procreate sexually. There are underwater vents where they're from that every so often will release a bubble with a baby Cug inside, which is a slug thing. They then get swept into the propulsion of their undersea vent and are shot up way into the air. There the bubble floats around, then descends. After a while the bubble pops and the slug is launched into the water. I didn't create this lore. I couldn't, even on my most creative day. It was made by the original owner, Captain Dorian, before they passed the species on to me. But I added in mammal-style reproduction in addition to this lore. The adults can have their adult stuff and their adult fun and do whatever they want with their adult art, and the kids can go on with the story of the stork of launching bubbles. But this story of how reproduction works will create societal roles and structures around boning. Everything humans have created either traces back to trying to get food, housing, or sex. You look good to get a partner, you become funny to get a partner, you become skilled to get a job to attract a partner or get food and housing which attracts a partner. All of human society is designed around eating, sleeping, and boning. This is optional for your species, of course, but this is what I mean. The gender seen as the dominant one can be dictated by sex and gender. Like, when the women are larger than the men, the women tend to run society. When both are the same size, one tries to control the other in the sort of tug of war. And through cultural shifts, you get the idea. Don't just write about how they make more of them, write about the rituals and mating habits, maybe celebrations and such that ring in mating seasons. This depends on your tech level too. Like a super advanced society probably doesn't have a party dedicated to boning. They probably just get drunk at the holiday party and make a mistake that they'll regret for the rest of their lives. How do they live? This is all about their culture, and it might seem like it might be hard to write, but everything we did before this has already had bits of influence on this part. So you're already mostly done. Now, make a character for this species, assign them a job, and write down a list that describes their day-to-day life. From waking up to going asleep, what is their day like? This should be super easy because you already laid out all the groundwork for this in the previous 4 sections. You can elaborate beyond just these 5 ideas, but these are a baseline, a bare minimum for the lore for me. See, in species where there isn't a defined lore, people will make it. When you create your species, you want some control over that. Anything you don't make, the community will try to step in and make in your absence. For example, if you saw my video on the species of volley, you know that the creator stepped away from it for a while. Because of that, the lore surrounding reproduction kept getting digitally vandalized, because people insisted on injecting their own kinks. Later, the species splintered off into a bunch of other groups, one for each 3D volley model that is out there. Imagine how much different each isolated group's lore must be. So you need to set the rules now while you still have full control. That said, you do need to hand the reins over to the community every now and then. If you want people to stick around, they need to feel like they have some control over the lore. In my case, I let people make up animals and pets for Cugs. Admittedly, I've kind of stepped away from that stuff, but once I find the energy again, I'll be incorporating a lot of the community's animals. This is, in the end, a shared storytelling and collaborative experience. You can only do so much yourself, and if the audience wants to give you some free help, take it and thank them for it. That's all I have for you this time. I've seen a lot of stuff about the views being down thing. Some seem to think it has to do with a change in ad block. Those folks aren't giving me ad revenue anyway, so I'm not super worried about the low view count anymore. I guess it's just more honest. Those are the views that are actually contributing to ad revenue. Either way, ad block or not, thanks for watching, and thanks to the supporters who help me keep making videos like this. You can become a supporter through the Patreon or members for just $1 and get your name in the credits, or by buying merch below the video or getting a keychain. Thanks again to Taito Phoenix, Aspirant Artist, Paper, Faye Penguin, Momentary Unicorn, Aurora the Puppy Moth, Sly, Nat, Marius, Yeenie, Worm Syrup, Rask, Beeve, Sly Again, Colorado Blue, Vaderson, Linky, Linky Again, Splackjack, Willie P, TG Dante, who also made this background, and Malding Brick. I'll see you all later. I gotta go set up my slug net so they stop landing on my roof.